Welcome to the Real Faith Conversations on the One Name Church podcast. This is a moment where we have real conversations about our faith in Jesus. We're so glad you're joining us today. Wherever you are listening from, it is our hope that these conversations would inspire you to have real faith in Jesus. So hope you're ready because we're about to get real.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Real Faith Conversation here, sponsored by One Name Church. Come on, somebody. But we're glad you guys are here tuning in today. Me and my lovely wife are here today, ready to dive in and continue to help you grow in your faith and have real conversations about our faith. And today, we're just going to dive right in today. We're going to talk about something that is very vital to our growth spiritually, and that is who we surround ourselves with. So the question that we want to ask you is, who is in your circle? Who do you surround yourself with? We've been talking in our church about relational IQ and having the intelligence to discern who needs to be in your life, why they need to be recognized, and where to position them and what space should they occupy, because not everyone needs to be in your circle and tight in your circle. So today, we're going to just practically talk about it. We talked about it biblically at One Name Church if you have come to one of our gatherings, but we're going to just talk about practically and let you know how me and Jamie have discerned our circle. You know, because you probably think, well, you're a pastor, you know, everyone, you know, loves you and everyone wants to be in your circle. Yeah, but there has been people that are in our circle that don't need to be in. There's people that, and it changes for seasons. So we're going to dive into that today. Let's just I just want to remind us before we talk about this is the people you surround yourself. These are a couple statements that we need to get into our spirit. The people you surround yourself will determine who you become. The people you surround yourself will determine who you become. So let's start it off. What do you think has been for us, Jamie, maybe just start it off, the things that we have learned when making these decisions of who to put in our life and who to put, not to put in our life, and how to adjust that?
I mean, I think many times we look at relationships through the lens of like opportunity, if that makes sense. Like, you know, somebody invited me here, or I got invited to this dinner or this group or this whatever. We approach it through the lens of like opportunity. Okay, this is what's being presented to me, versus with intentionality, where we're intentionally saying in this season of our life, like, I want to be surrounded by people who are good mothers, by people who are good pastors, and by people who, you know, like run their church well, run their household well. So with my intentionality of where I want to go as a person, I'm also going to allow that to dictate my friendships and dictate my time as well. So I just think for us, that was the biggest principle. It's not that people who are inviting us to those dinners or other places that we don't want to go there and we don't want to hang out with you as a person. But if I only have this amount of time and I'm not intentional about where I put it and whom I give it to, then it's really easy to allow opportunity to dictate our circle. And I think we have to be more intentional about that. Sometimes we have to go ask those people, like, who do you think is in a better stage of life or further along in life to where you want to become, and go ask them to dinner, go ask them to coffee, go ask them to hang out in your circle, versus allowing it to kind of happen the other way.
Right, that's good. And I think sometimes we brush this under the rug and we think that the people we surround ourselves with are not affecting us. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, how is this a real faith conversation? How does this apply to faith? You know, you're talking about how do relationships, you know, I always thought that like, I don't really like talking about relationships or whatever, you know, I like diving into the Word of God and doing this and doing that. But I feel like sometimes we don't understand that God created us as relational beings. Yep. And if you read the Bible, everything in there is talking about certain relationships between people, between God, and how that functions. And sometimes we just brush this under the rug and we just go, I'm good with all of this in my life, but then the people I hang around with or whatever, that's okay. That's not going to affect me because, I'm doing this. But the reality is it does affect you. And this is what I learned. Like we've learned this from a book that Darius Daniels, an amazing pastor, wrote, Relational Intelligence. And this is what he says relational intelligence is the ability to discern if someone should be a part of our lives and what place they should be in. And he talks about it's the ability to appropriately define and align our relationships. And he says this may be difficult to hear, but although everyone should be loved appropriately and valued equally, they should be treated differently. Every single area of our life is impacted by our relationships. So with that said, what are some of the things of how we can evaluate and discern what space do these people need to occupy in my life? Jesus did this. He had 3 that were tight. He had the 12, and then he had the masses. He made a decision to pour into 3, to invest in 12, and then to inspire thousands. He knew that we have capacity. We just want all these Facebook friends. We want all these people in our life, because sometimes we put that in our life to feel better about ourselves. So how can we do this practically to go, how do I evaluate? How do I know if this person is real or not? How do I know if this person's good for me? And all of that stuff. What are some of the things that we've learned? And
I would say practically when it comes to friendship, sometimes we have to approach it like we would, like looking for a husband or a wife, and a lot of times we coach the younger couples, or single people, when you're looking for a husband and a wife, write down what you're looking for in that person, pray, fast, seek God, and write down what it is that you're looking for, so that when somebody comes into your life that does not fit that criteria, loves the Lord, doesn't just attend church, but serve church, whatever your criteria are. If somebody comes in and doesn't fit that, it's real easy to kind of say, red flag, you're not entering my zone like that. And I think the same thing comes when it comes to friendships. If you are trying to have a healthy marriage and not get divorced, then don't hang out with people who always talk bad about their spouse. If you're trying to quit drinking, don't hang out with the friends who are out at the bar drinking. If you are trying to, keep your life on track and go to church, don't hang out with people who are trying to go to brunch on Sundays and not at church. So I think it's the same thing. Write down your standards of what is it that I'm looking for in a friend? I'm looking for somebody who aligns with my beliefs, who will push me further in life, who will pray for me, who will pick me up in the hard times, who will always tell me the truth even when I don't want to hear it. So write those things down and say, that's what I'm looking for in a friend. And I think more importantly, that's what I'm looking for in my close 3 circle. So the 3 people that know my deepest, darkest thoughts and fears and prayers are those 3 people who perfectly align with those standards in my life. And then outside of that, you can allow some compromises within that group, because God does call us to be a light in the world. So we do have to be a friend to those who do not know the Lord and all that. But those are not the people who will have the closest seat at your table. So I think be intentional about it. Write down what you're looking for. Then it's real easy to spot out red flags, and you can build it from there.
Yeah, our friends are our futures, and the people we put around ourselves are our futures. So it's really important that we see these things and we do this. You see this in the Word of God. You see how when people, especially Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy about that story is that right when they said, hey, one of you guys are going to betray me, everyone's looking around, the disciples who? And he said, the person I hand this bread to. And then when he handed that bread to, he says, go and do what you got to do. And even Jesus, God in flesh, said, go do what you got to do. And released that person that was with him the whole time, putting on a front, and doing that, and said hey, so let's talk about this, because I think it's like, hey, this is how we put them in our life. But I really want to talk about, how do you release someone?
That's good.
How do you release someone to a different season? You know, that sounds good, but someone like, well, just get rid of them. It's not like that. It's like, how do I let someone just go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially that someone's been there. Like with Judas, he was there through it all.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Yeah.
He was there, and we know through the character that he was stealing money from Jesus and all of this stuff, and he was but the disciples didn't see it.
Yeah.
No one else saw that this guy was going to betray him. So sometimes we don't see it.
Yeah.
How can we develop discernment to see it, and then how can we, release? What are some of the things we can do?
I mean, I think what you said there was really important to understand. And I think many times when those situations come and we do have to let go of a friendship or something, it's very easy to blame ourselves. Like, oh, what did I do wrong? Why did I allow them that seat at the table? But like you were saying, like even Jesus had somebody that close to him that then he saw a different side of their character. And I just think it's believing the best in people until you start to see those signs that they don't have your best intention at heart. And then you approach it just with honest conversations like, hey, this situation happened and I felt like you did this. You approach it with truth and love. And I just think you explain them like this. I think many times people who get saved and now are trying to navigate life and,
Right.
readjust their friendships, I see them struggle with this a whole lot. And I think it's because of the fact that person didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like it's easier
Right.
to let go of a friend that betrayed you. It's
Right.
a little bit harder to let go of a friend that at one point in time you were doing the same things that they were,
Right.
but now God has saved you and brought you out of it. And you have that sense like, oh, I want to help them. I know the answer. I want to save them. But it's also creating that boundary that doing what they're doing is not saving them. So I have to put that boundary in place. And I just think it's being honest with them. And I've seen it in my life and I've seen it in people who come to One Name Church's life. When you're honest with them, just, hey, God has changed my life. And now that doesn't align with what I'm going after in my life. I'm here for you. I'm praying for you, whatever. I've seen many of those friends come back around or start showing it. Like just this week, somebody was telling us that they had a conversation with somebody who they've been inviting, the same situation. They just showed up at church this Sunday. Like,
Wow.
You just don't know, because eventually God's going to get to them as well. And they're going to get to a point in their life that some of that is old, maybe, I don't know. And then they'll come seeking the truth. They'll come seeking what you have because they've watched your life kind of just change and experience the fullness and the goodness of God. Proverbs 13:20 says this. It says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companions of fools will suffer harm. And I just think that's a very weighty proverb. Like, I don't want to suffer harm. Like, nobody wants harm in life. Like, life is hard enough to bring on harm on our own. So I want to walk with the wise. So I think you have to create those boundaries and those standards with our friends and just be honest with them and draw that clear line.
Right. And especially when you start gaining wisdom,
Yes.
you start to see the foolishness around you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality, especially if you're coming out of the world into being saved, like we talked about. You're going to see the foolishness even more, because now God is opening up your eyes and the veil, is being taken off, and you actually are developing spiritual eyes that you once were like, that was awesome. These guys were there for me and all of this. And now you're saying, well, what was I doing? That was foolish, and it actually created harm because we liked people's company more than we invested and investigated their character.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's dangerous to make sure that we're just not hanging with people for company. If you're lonely, you have to go to God for that.
Mm-hmm.
And God created the community of believers to help with that. Not everyone's perfect in the community of believers.
No.
So, you might come to One Name Church or any church, and there might be someone that's weird. There probably is someone. and if you don't think it is, it's probably you. But, sorry, that's funny. But I just think, like, we have to understand that it's not perfect, but God created a place for us to love each other in community and create those relationships in there. So I just think we have to be wise, and we have to see that, and we have to understand that. And we have to understand that no relationship is perfect.
Yeah.
But a relationship is either making you better or making you worse.
And I think like one of the biggest misconceptions about relationships, just kind of in general, no matter whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or even children, any relationships come with conflict. And I think that we separate the two. We think, oh, it's a good relationship when it has no conflict. But conflict is inevitable in life, like it's inevitable in the church, it's inevitable in our marriage. Like we're two imperfect people who are trying to work together. We're imperfect people trying to do church together and do life together. Like that's going to be part of it. But I always feel like what makes us any different than the world if we do not sit in the room, talk about what's bothering us, and give each other grace and allow for forgiveness and understanding. Even if we don't understand each other, we share our truth, we apologize for our wrongs, and we move forward in that. I just think we live in a world that just writes people off left and right. That's like, good. Like cancel culture, canceled. I don't like what you said, canceled. Like, no, like as Christ followers, if we don't forgive people and we don't handle conflict in a godly way where it says, go to your brother if they've offended you, speak to them and get back on the same page. And what does it say? It says, forgive somebody 70 times 70. What is it? 77? Like
70 times.
A million times. That's a lot of sevens. I don't know. I'm horrible at math. I can't even do second grade
Pray
math.
for her, guys. Pray for her.
I can't. My daughter comes home from school and I'm like, please take that to your dad. But I just think if we don't exercise God's commands when it comes to that, then you're looking for something inside a relationship, inside of a friendship that does not exist. You're looking for a false reality of a perfect conflict-free relationship. But what makes friendships deeper, what makes marriage deeper, what makes community deeper is when you guys can go through something hard together, get in the room, allow God's grace and forgiveness and mercy to shine over that situation, and do like he commanded us to do, forgive your brother and sister. And now, depending on what the offense is, obviously you have to discern that with wisdom. Like, I'm not saying if somebody seriously wronged you, make them your BFF again. I'm just saying, like, conflict is going to happen. We're going to disagree. Like, we're going to think differently about things. We're going to say things out of being tired or hangry or, like, we're human. So let's realign, get on the same page, use forgiveness, and grow that friendship deeper.
Yeah, and I think it's not, I think sometimes we think, well, if they are not doing this or they hurt me, then it, like you said, it's just removing them. But I just think it's relational intelligence is the ability to discern what space they occupy.
Yeah.
They may not occupy the 3 anymore.
Yeah.
Which is the closest people. They may move to the 12, or there might be in the 12 and they move to the masses. And this is what I wrote down is God sends certain people into our lives in certain seasons for certain reasons. Mm-hmm. Some people might be in our lives for a season. And they're not close in this, but I know I have friends that we were very close, but that was a certain season and now it's a different season. So we don't see each other all the time, but it's a different type of relationship. However, while God sends them, we must see them because sometimes we don't see them. God sends some certain people and you're looking at the other people that are toxic. Come on, somebody. And you are over there looking at the toxic more because the toxic is more attractive in the now. And you're not seeing the people that's right in front of you, and you're missing that. So our responsibility is when God sends them, we see them, God releases them, and we must recognize them. God assigns them, and we must align them. So God will send the people, God will release the people, God will assign the people, but it's our job to make sure we recognize them, we see them, and we align them properly into the space of our lives where they need to be.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that we understand the spaces where they need to be in. Mm-hmm. So maybe let's talk about that a little bit. What are some spaces that people should have access to, people should not have access to? How do we align that? And maybe it's just talk about our experiences. There's some people that we invest in and they're in the circle and they have that access, on people not. And I think people don't understand that. Well, Jesus didn't even do it.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to get to a space where we do that. So how can we proactively align people in in the certain spaces of our life? Like how do we go do for 3, 12? Like, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what I said earlier. Those closest 3 directly fit your standards, and then everybody else is, based on your availability, your week, where God's calling you at the time. But I think we have a responsibility as well when it comes to relationships and to keeping those 3 close. We've talked about this before. Our mentors taught us, like, always have a spiritual mother or father. Always have a spiritual brother and sister, and have somebody when you're at this season in life that you can then pour into as well. So those are 3 close people. But when it comes to friendships, I think it's with the same intentionality. Like, I have 3 who are close, and then, the other couple who, I run in circles with, but they might not know my deepest and darkest prayer desires. It's like I said. And I just think sometimes when it comes to friendships or relationships, like, we are seeking something that we should be seeking from the Lord. So many times we go through our 10 friends in our phone list and we're blowing them up and we're calling them and we're saying, my mom, my husband, my friend, they just did this and I need advice. And now you've got 10 people on the line that you're trying to get wisdom from or pray for your situation. And I just don't feel like that's true friendship, when all of a sudden you're taking that situation to 5 or 6 different people. Like, true friendship I'm taking that to the close 3 who know the inner desires of my heart, who know what I'm praying for, who know what my shortcomings are and can help align me in this situation. Because when you're approaching somebody for wisdom or for advice, like, they're only getting that one side of the story. But those people who are closest to you are doing life with you, and they might be able to call out something that, hey, like, you did that wrong in that situation. Like, but many times that doesn't feel comfortable. So we go telling everybody the situation because we want to be told how the other person was wrong or this, that, and the other. And I just think when it comes to aligning the relationships, it comes with intentionality of seeking those relationships. I think many times we sit and we pray, God, I want close friendships. God, I want a friend group. Like, that's a normal desire in our heart and life. But I just think the importance is getting plugged into community, getting plugged into a group, getting plugged into a serve team, whatever it is. Like, you got to kind of put yourself out there a little bit to develop those friendships. And, I tell this to ladies all the time who I do coffee with and stuff. And they're like, I just want a friendship. Girl, go ask somebody to coffee, because everybody tells me the same thing. Make the first ask.
In order to have friends, you got to be a friend.
Yeah. It's the same thing we tell our 7-year-old. Like, you got to be a good friend. And I think it's the same thing as adults, but we get busy and we think of life through their situation. Oh, they're too busy to do this with me. Like, no, like, ask, throw it out there. Like, you never, like, what's the worst somebody could say is no. Like, they were going to say no anyways because you weren't going to ask, So I think it's being intentional about seeking those relationships, and, building trust with a person, and seeing how that relationship goes. And as you build trust, you can see how close they can be to your 3, or if they're in your circle.
That's good. As we wrap our time up here, let's talk about real quick, what are some traits that we want that we want in people in our circle? Yeah. Let's talk about us. Like, we'll start with you and then we'll come back to me. Like, let's do that. Popcorn here today. Like, what are some traits that's just like, these are the people I'm looking for to have this trait to be in my circle?
I mean, for me, it's like honesty. Like, I would much rather somebody just tell me the truth about the situation than sugarcoat it, and then we can move on from there. Like, I don't want to investigate. I don't want to, I want you just to be like, hey, this is what you said. It made me feel this way. Or, hey, this is what happened. Like, I would rather just like complete honesty.
That's good. For me, you ready? It's kind of like on the same lines, but I would say authentic, real, like, just be who you are, like, be who God's created you to be. Come with your mess, come with your greatness, come with all of that. Like, I want people in my circle that are going to be, which realness will turn into honesty. Like, be real and authentic and be who you are. Don't try to put up a front, to be around that. You just, because I think that's where the real, growth happens. Yeah. Because the people in your circle will set your spiritual climate. They will influence your character. And if they are not who they say they are or acting who they are, and there's something different in the dark, that's not something good to have in your circle. And what's crazy is Jesus had those people in his circle, but he had that. But there's a difference between a Judas and a Peter.
Yeah.
You know, like Judas, okay, like he, you know, it said the devil entered him.
Yeah.
You know, Peter denied Jesus, but he was redeemed by Jesus later on in Scripture. So do you want people to be like, okay, they're not going to be perfect, but the ability to like, okay, I'm going to be real. Yes, I denied you, and forgiveness, that too. So that's mine. What about a couple more?
I would say I want friends who are like my closest friends who are running after the same call that I have on my life.
It's good.
You know, to build a healthy family, to build a healthy church. You know, like those are on my top priority list of what I spend all my time in life doing. So I would say somebody who's closest to my seat does that as well. And I just think that helps, you know, the biggest thing that helps relationships is proximity. And when we're doing life and ministry and, you know, together, like it's very easy and natural to have a relationship. And, you know, there's been friends who have moved away and, you know, that relationship looks a little different. You know, like I'm not a on the phone all the time girly, but you can send me a voice memo and I'll memo you back, you know, so like those relationships are still a value in my life, but they get a little harder because of proximity and just because of my life goes 1,000 miles per hour. So the closer you get in my world, the easier. I mean, that might sound selfish, but
That's good. We have some people in our life that do that. So that's good. Last thing I'll say, mine thing. I want, and we have put people in our circle that carry us. You know, I said this in the message when I preached it, but that care, you know, they see us, they carry us, and they're the ones that when we're down, they're lifting us up.
yeah.
Like I can't have people in my circle that when I'm down are down with me.
Yeah.
Like I need people like get me out of this, pull me out of this. Like, no, see something what I don't see and go, hey, you know, you're better than you think you are. Like really have faith for us. And you need this. We all need this. Have faith for us when our faith is low.
Yeah. That's good.
So I think it's important that we have that, because if not, then
Yeah.
what are you going to do? You're going to be sitting around, both of you are going to have pity parties together. You're going to have...
we all need that.
You know, just sitting there, like having that, like, oh, you know, and you don't want that. You want people to lift you up. You don't want when it's just like, I'm struggling, and you're like, or you, I don't know, you went through a break, or you're having a tough time in your marriage where you go to someone, and they're the one that's telling you, yeah, just post about it. Yeah, just do that. Just say that.
Yeah.
You don't want that encouragement. You want people to go, nah, man, like let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. Let's run from sin.
Yeah.
So they push your faith down the field. They push your faith stronger to progress you. They're not like pulling you back.
Yeah.
And because if not, you're not. They will stunt your spiritual growth. They will influence your destiny.
Yeah.
They will affect your calling if you let the people in your circle do that and not push you forward and help your faith. No, they got to pull you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be they might be in a season that's ahead of you. You know, we've always had friends or people that invest in our life that are old, like they're multiple seasons ahead of us.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why don't you hang out with people our age? Because people my age are immature. You know, so I'm gonna go to I want to hang out with someone who has a teenage kid.
Yeah.
Or an advance, you know, and advance that because sometimes you're like, you know, I just got to hang out with people my age. So you don't have to think of it in that conventional way. You have to think about, where am I trying to go? How am I going to get there? And maybe I need a visual picture of that.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I would also add, just as a sub note, because I think all the moms will like it, I like to hang out with people who like my kids as well. You know, like,
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
That's my top priority in life as a mom. So when people will pour in and invest in my kids as well, or isn't afraid to, you know, have a coffee conversation with 2, 3 running around the house screaming and doing whatever, like, then good, we can hang out because you can function in the chaos of my life. That's just part of it.
That's good.
When people call me and they're like, they hear screaming in the back, they're like, I'll call you back. No, this doesn't go. Like, where do you think this
You're
goes?
right.
Where do you think the
You
circus
gotta be
gets put away?
willing to come
Like,
into my mess.
You just gotta
That's
hear it.
true.
Like,
That's true people that love you. Like, you're coming into this.
yeah.
You're not seeing me at my best.
Yeah.
You're not just my
Yeah.
Instagram friend
Yeah.
that just sees me when everything is going well. No, you're in the mess with my kids. You're in the times where
Yeah.
I'm down. You're there. Like, that's what we need to help us in our faith. We don't need people that are just there to clap us up when we do well.
Yeah.
Like, you're there to pick me up when I'm not doing well. You're there to help me and my family, help me and those kids, because I'm here to tell you right now, you don't have time to waste time with people that are stunting your destiny, that are really not helping you and really pulling you back. Like, you don't have time to deal with that. You don't have time to deal with fakeness. So I think it's important. I know this conversation can go way long. We can do like multiple episodes on this and dive into it deeper. But I hope hopefully this helps you, and hopefully you start to evaluate like who's in your circles. Like, really start writing the things down that with biblical traits. Like, just like do that with yourself, like what we just did. Like, what do you want? And evaluate, well, is this a selfish thing, or is this something that's going to help me in my faith? And really evaluate that, because we see all the time as pastors and leaders, oh, they're not there because who they surround themselves with. And if they would just position people and recognize and align, they would, move forward, and God will just advance them far. So evaluate that, think about that. It might not be the most important thing, but I think as followers of Jesus, we neglect this.
Yeah.
We just go, hey, it's okay, they're at church, so they're all right. That doesn't mean they go to church, doesn't mean they're good for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we evaluate that. So hopefully this helps you today. Get some people around you that will see your blind spots and to see like, hey, maybe that person's not good for you. Do that stuff and
Join a group.
Get at One Name Church. Come on, somebody. Not everyone's perfect there, but we have some great people that are real here, because if they're not, we call them out in the name of Jesus. Come on, somebody. Well, hopefully this helped you today in this real faith conversation, and we're just glad that you are tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Make sure you do all of that so we can get more people tuning in and listening to this. We love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Faith Conversations from One Name Church. For more information or to connect with us, visit onename.church or follow us on our socials at One Name Church.